a federal judge in Louisiana, issuing a preliminary injunction limiting the federal government from contacting social media sites about online content. District Judge Terry Doty ruling that the Biden administration likely violated the First Amendment. The judge writing, quote, "The evidence produced thus far depicts an almost dystopian scenario during the COVID-19 pandemic, a period perhaps characterized by widespread doubt and uncertainty. The United States government seems to have assumed a role similar to an Orwellian ministry of truth." Well, the lawsuit coming from Republican attorneys general of Missouri and Louisiana, who claim the Biden administration pressured social media companies to suppress disfavored views when it came to COVID-19, Hunter Biden, and the 2020 election. This afternoon, the White House was asked for their response to the injunction.
So, as you know, DOJ is reviewing the decision, the injunction, and so I don't want to get ahead of what they will evaluate and their options could potentially be. So, I'm not going to get ahead of the DOJ. If you're asking me if we agree or disagree, we certainly disagree with this decision.
You heard that, Karine Jean-Pierre, White House Press Secretary. Chris, real quick, this is just the latest in big tech, the government, and the Biden administration, right? Or part of it, or what's the bigger framing here?
This is Republicans in big tech, right? This is how the Republican Party increasingly focuses on taking on big tech. And Hunter Biden is in the story again this time. Hunter Biden's laptop and all of that stuff. Counselor here will tell me the truth momentarily, but I don't think that one federal judge in Louisiana is going to be able to enjoin the federal government from communicating with that. But that statement to me read like he was making a political argument.
Denise Scott, did they get it right here?
Well, so in August of 2020, there was a poll that showed that 75% of Americans believed that there is censorship by social media companies. Now, you add to that a Democratic administration that agrees with most of these Silicon Valley executives, and what do you expect? I mean, the split wasn't on whether or not it was happening in August of 2020. It was on whether they agreed with the censorship or not. And then you have an email that comes out in support of everything Republicans already believe that says specific, I don't know why anyone would ever allow.
But you have no concerns about the government being told who they can and cannot talk to.
The government being told, I mean, the government.
In this case, the Biden administration.
Yeah.
And officials.
The government needs to talk to the tech companies for national security purposes. And in this particular case, which these rules and regs started under the Trump administration because they were necessary, but also for voter suppression, Russian interference, as well as the vaccines. And so the government has to do this. This is a poor decision. It's a preliminary decision. It's going to either be appealed, but the case itself goes on. And as a result, we ought to be looking at this because our national security and other issues are at stake here. Now, the worst part of this decision, though, is that they did not give any guidance. The judge didn't give any guidance on what the government could talk to them about. It just said content, and that needs to be defined. And so there'll be more litigation about this in this particular case.
Actually, the judge did exclude things that specific content, things that are protected under the First Amendment. I just want to point out
that they were very broad, and it needs to be narrow.
But they do address the issues that we all share concerns about as Americans.
But it can't be content generally because that's violative of the First Amendment.
Well, then maybe you should tell that to that White House exec that sent that email over that said that the White House was concerned at the highest levels of the White House, right? The president is what they're implying. That's not an implicit statement. That's an explicit statement that's going to put pressure on anyone. And social media tech execs are looking for friends.
There's nothing wrong with that statement, though, if it's connected to national security or the vaccinations.
And
the Republicans love arguing that there's this deep state that's working against them, if you will. And you can take a statement and do whatever you want with it.
It's an email.
But the national email statement,
it's an email.
It's a national security issue. Government's got to talk to these tech companies, even if it means regulating them.
Julia, what's next here? I mean,
it's another thing.
Go for it. We'll go for it. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Please,
I'll cut him off.
Like, where does this go from here, right? This is the latest chapter in a lot of concerns.
It's the latest chapter. Look, I just think it leads to more political football at this point. I think we'll see how it's settled, but I just, I don't see how this is wrapped up anytime soon.
Both parties want to control social media. Yeah. They want to have their say. They want it to be the way that they want it to be. Right. And I think it's very illustrative here that it what crossed partisan lines, switched parties 2020 to 2021. Everybody wants to do it, and everybody wants it to be their thing. The point about living in a free nation with free speech is people are going to say what they're going to say, and the government shouldn't pressure people to say what they want.
Something Democrats used to agree with.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.